there any other public comments on the issue?
It's a tough break. It's been a good program. I'm real hesitant that we're losing that option for low-income folks to help out some of the housing stock. It's one of the tools, but.
I don't disagree.
Did they say they were gonna maybe come up with a new program or something, or?
There are, if I can plug our program, CNED has 2 grant programs available. They are for 120% area median income, up to $40,000. They're both loans. We've got for owner-occupied rehab the same program that yours is currently, and then we also have down payment assistance. They're both loans. They're not forgivable, but those are options that we have that are for the region. So anyone in Ainsworth could apply for those funds as well.
So we're not completely losing everything?
That's correct. I mean, they're.
Because I'm with Greg, it's gonna suck to lose.
Ainsworth is losing their program, but, you know, CNED does have a program available at this point in time that any applicant that wanted to do some rehab to their home, there is a program available.
Well, don't forget that NCDC does have workforce housing funds as well. And then there are some other grants out there. It's not completely hopeless. I mean, there are, NIFA has grant funds and things that the city could apply for down the road. It's not the end all be all. There are some other things out there, but I agree. I feel like it's been a good program. I was initially a little distraught when I got the news that, at the end of the day, it's federal money, so you are restricted in what you can and can't do. And
Carla, is that CNED program fairly similar to the one we have here? I mean, interest rates are somewhat similar.
I don't remember what they are off the top of my head.
And is it pretty competitive, or people that qualify, there are funds available? It's not a, well, we're ranking you and we only have so many funds to go around.
First come, first serve. It's up to 120% area median income.
Right.
With this program, it's.
But what I'm saying is, oh, hey, we lost this program in Ainsworth, now we have 4 applicants and only 1 gets funded because you've got a.
As long as there's slots available. We have, I think when we applied for grant funds, it was at least 13 homes. I think there are 8, 9, 10 spots that are already occupied somewhere in there, so there's at least 3 available.
So at any point, those could be all allocated?
Correct. But, I mean, they're available now, and, you know, my feeling for the district is, you know, once that program is, all of those funds are used up, the next grant cycle that's available, we would be applying for trust fund grant again to continue the program, because we just really do have a lot of need within the region, and I think it's a very good program for our area. So it's, you know, it's up to the state if we were to get funded, but it's my hope that the district would continue to apply for it once this current grant is, all those funds are allocated.
Any other comments on for the record in the public hearing?
I have one more comment, I guess. I would like to see our community at least consider, the last page, I believe, of your guidelines states that it can be used for acquisition and demolition, even to be repurposed, if it is a quick turnaround. The city has some nuisance properties that I know have been identified for quite some time, and there have been people that have inquired about donating those properties, but I know our community has been very hesitant to do that because we don't have unlimited resources. So I guess I'd like you to at least consider that, but demolition could occur and happen fairly rapidly, you know, on some of those properties. making them developable.
I thought you said demolition wasn't eligible for this money.
Typically, it's not, but, you know,
When I asked
It's
Tom
on the
if
back
we could,
page of your guidelines, it's the last page.
when I asked Tom if we could use it for any other housing activities, because as we talked about, this is really the city's only housing-related funds. The answer I got was no. I mean, I guess, I don't know the exact answer to that question that Kristen posed, but.
Yeah, it's just under your program income is what it states. It says if something's ever to happen, that could be reused. So that was just my question of, you know, is there another opportunity out there to use the funds, especially if there's other funds available for the lighting? We also have revolving loan fund, as Lisa mentioned, for rural workforce housing, but we continue to struggle getting those lots acquired, and yes, we have some demo funds, but definitely not enough to address all of the demolition needs of our community, so maybe those two things could work hand in hand.
That's the reason why I came tonight. I have a couple of nuisance properties right next to my house. So whenever I hear that possible funds that we're gonna be able to help our neighborhood are going out the window, it's just really depressing, because we've been living by it now for, I don't know, 25 years. So it makes me sad.
Understood. Any other comments? If not, I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing at 5:30. And we will move on to old business. And that item is to discuss and consider subcommittee recommendations. I guess I could go first on the law enforcement agreement. Contacted Buddy Small, County Commissioner, and visited with him a little bit, and trying to get a meeting set up. It's basically between the committee. So that's all I have on that. Dustin, did you have anything you want to talk
Yeah,
about?
we met with NCDC, had a really good discussion with them. Kind of was a little bit too soon to put something together, but I feel by next meeting and another meeting or two, by the next month's meeting, we'll have something ready.
I think we will on law enforcement too.
Like we'll have, I mean, I think we can put something together and
I think we had a good productive meeting, and I appreciate you and Sean taking time to meet with us and our board members, so thank you for doing that.
it was good, it was really good.
Okay, great. All right, that's all old business this week, month. Move on to the regular agenda. And the first item is to discuss and consider amendment to CDBG RLF plan to cease housing-related activities and repurpose the funds, which is what we just had the public hearing for. And we would, if anybody would like to take any action, we need a motion to move forward on that.
I guess I would like to maybe try to enter, if we could, if those funds can be used for demolition of any type of project. We've been trying to figure out, since I've been on the council, many times over the years, trying to figure out how we're gonna get some of these houses demolished and stuff in the community. What we've been running into is people qualified to do it. You know, people qualified to demo the housing, or finding people that are willing to demo the housing. And I don't want to, you know, I like the lighting project. We need to get that Main Street done. But I know if we don't use money on demo now, when are we going to do some demoing? And there's a lot of houses need to be demoed. And I don't know if we're going to have any projects that'll come in on those spots, but you know, like you say, you know, you live next to two ones that have been on the bad list for a number of years. They need to be cleaned up, and that's not the only one that needs to be cleaned up. There's a lot of them. So you know, if we need to wait another month or so, I know we're not coming against the timeline here, but if we need to wait I'm willing to table this for 1 month to see, can we use that money for demolition? To me, that's more important.
I don't disagree with you at all, just the only thing I would say to that is if DED's emergent nature is on the timeline, we don't own any of those properties. So you have to acquire those properties before you can demo them. And that's not a
And
timeline,
that takes
that's not a
time.
timeline.
And
we
that
can
takes time.
control.
It does take time.
So just keep that in mind. I mean, it's good in theory, it's a good idea, and I would support that. I just, if time is the issue, that's, I suppose you're running the risk that you're not gonna meet whatever proposed timeline is.
I definitely don't want to lose the money. We gotta use it on something.
So,
And we can wait a month, can't we? I'm with you. If there's a chance that we can use this for demoing somehow in a timely manner without losing it, then I'd say we explore it, that, or exhaust that option before we.
what do you think, Colonel, is there
In my conversations with Tom, I know that time is of the essence, and I do know that HUD will be coming in August to do some auditing. I don't know if it will be all their programs, but I do know that HUD is coming in August. Once they say that they want the money back, it's a very short time that the state has to get it back and get it to them. And, you know, I don't want Ainsworth to have to, you know, write that check.
Yeah, I don't want to lose that money either. So there, you know, if there is a chance we're gonna lose the money, I'm agreeable. I can probably go for the lighting, but on the backside, we definitely have to get serious somehow and get some of these houses gone. We have to.
Well, from
Which
talking
is
to individuals that have houses, that there are people out there that want their houses demoed, but they don't have the funds to pay for 50% of the demo even.
Or the asbestos and
Yeah, it's
everything
like
else.
everything that, so let's say the total cost is $10,000 or $20,000, they can't come up with, and, you know, we can get a grant for half of it, they don't have the money for the other half, so that's right, our holdup on, to me, on a lot of properties.
I guess my question,
I've been involved in quite a few demo housing as far as burning and stuff like that, and it takes time trying to get the asbestos gone, having somebody come out and inspect it. Does it have asbestos? Then you have to come out and remove it. Then you have to have that person come out and inspect it again, say, okay, it's clear. Now, is it burnable? I mean, is it too close to other properties? I know the property that she's talking about, both of them are too close to anything. Those got to be tore down. They can't be burnt.
Right, and
So and that's a timeline. So, you know, I know I'm kind of back talking here, but I'd like to use those monies for demo, but it's going to take time to put all that stuff in place. And I don't think we could have a single house demoed by August.
one of those properties has already been inspected for asbestos. You know, so we have that, I mean, I guess.
but has
that
it
could
been
potentially-
removed?
It has not been remediated, no.
Would there,
But it's been inspected.
would there be a way for the council regarding the timelines? Obviously, if you're able to save $150,000, $158,000 toward the lighting portion that you aren't otherwise going to have to borrow, could you take that into account and utilize maybe some general fund dollars at a future, you know, at your next budget to say, all right, we saved $150,000 now because we needed to get this light, you know, we needed to get it spent, we didn't want to risk losing it. But now we know, hey, let's just plan on in our budget trying to put $20,000 a year into something for demo or you know what? I understand general fund is tight,
We
but
can't, you know,
because of the,
put that in motion now because.
no, I get
it's on the
that.
budget.
I get that. But as you guys as council members, you could say, hey, look, we
We
know
did
we're
talk
saving
about
$158K here that we would have had to budget to pay back in bonds.
and at
Maybe
the end
with
of
what
the
we
day,
saved there at
what we need, and I mean, I've been saying this for a while, I think, personally, take it or leave it, what we need to do is try to package. I've said that to Kristen. You know, yes, we have these properties, yes, we have these vacant, you know, how do we package? How do we work together? You know, we've got TIF, we've got, you know, we have tools. The thing is that you have to have a process worked out, and you have to kind of have a, you know, whether you can use the CRA and whether you can do these different things. And I think it's doable. I think there's ways to do it. It's just a matter of putting those pieces together and getting it going. Whether you use this money for that or whether you use other sources of funds for that, that's.
I know the lighting is the easiest, quickest to resolve the problem we have right now. It is, the lighting is. But if we could, as a council, agree, hopefully in the future, when we sit down our next budget, is, okay, we need to set aside some money for demolition. We know, we took our money away that we had for it, we need to somehow replace it with maybe $75,000, $80,000 and not maybe $160,000 and get started. And maybe, and then next year put another $60,000 in there and do it again.
But you demo it and then what? You own it. Is the
Yeah.
city, you know.
Well, those are things we have to work out.
We need a process. You
Yeah.
need to get the CRA involved. The city proper probably should not be in the business of demoing and owning residential lots in town. I mean, that's the
But we
purpose
try to
of the
push people to
CRA.
do it themselves, and that's got us nowhere
Right,
too.
but I think, like I said, I think it's doable. We just
Yeah.
need to get it, we need to get a program and a process developed that.
You know, I think Sean and I are, or Dustin and I are on the same page. We'd like to use this money for that, but I'm not sure we have the timeline to use this money for that.
That's similar to the NCDC owning property, you know. NCDC can own property, but we as a board have opted not to take on property unless we know that there's a use for it, and it can there's either a neighbor that wants it, wants to do something with it, or there's some end game, because we've had that in stretches previously where we were on a piece of property that we didn't really have a use for necessarily. We were able to demo an old house, but then we're responsible for weeds and mowing and snow removal and insurance and all those different things that we don't necessarily want to have as ongoing costs by owning property that we don't have an end game for.
I agree with Lisa, you know, we don't want to own those properties.
Yeah.
And if we decide that that's a worthy use of the funds, you know, and we do take that on, we might have to discount them or get them going. We don't want to mess with it, you know, and we decide that's something we want to start using community funds for.
Well, but legally, there's a lot of hamstrings, which is why cities typically don't do that. But like I said, that's why you use your CRA. The CRA does not have those hamstrings. And
What's
we have a
CRA again?
CRA. We just haven't been using it.
What is that again?
Community Redevelopment Authority. We just haven't been using it.
So
I
that's
think we need to start,
Is that a committee of,
it's like a board,
okay,
and they're not hamstrung by the same property values and bids and sales on real estate like the city is.
but can we funnel city tax dollars towards that committee?
Yes, and so Joel and I talked about this some, you know, and I am not a resident expert on any of that. I would have to do a lot of research, I would have to talk to a lot of people. There are some people that I'm confident we could consult with, talk to, and figure out how to get that going. You know, it's doable. We just gotta put our thinking hats on it.
Again, the NCDC is set up to take on properties and things, but again, that's our concerns, is if I don't think our board has any problem doing that. And then helping with the demo and doing all those things, we can help property owners out with tax credits if they donate it. And then if we have funds like you're talking about to help with the demo, the issue for our board is, for us to take those on, we'd like to kind of know ahead of time that, hey, once we've got this demo, there's either something that's gonna get built, or a neighbor that wants to buy it, or, you know, something like that. If we can I think we can do some of that. I don't think the NCDC has a problem taking that on the ownership side, as long as it's short term, and that would potentially save the city some of those things that Lisa's talking about. That's what we're built for, but again, I think the issue for us becomes, let's do it strategically and know that there's something that can be built here, or that there's somebody that wants that lot once it's clear.
And that kind of gets back to that packaging deal like I was talking about where, you know, the city has tools, NCDC has tools. You know, how do we put them together? How do we package that, collaborate that? To make worthy projects and get things done.
So I hear you, Lisa. I've been on my blank list for years, but I'm gonna move that we, how do you want this motion? I'm looking at my,
It's, well, it's.
I move that we amend the CDBG-RLF plan to cease housing-related activities and repurpose the funds.
Okay.
and having made that motion, then I'll just add that it's time to put something in the budget or try to do some kind of a plan. And that's one of those things to remove some of those properties.
Got a motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Kent,
Yes.
Dustin,
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Motion carried, 3-0. Thanks, gentlemen. Move on to discussing and consider repurposing the CDBG RLF funds into public works lighting project in the downtown area. I assume there'll be less discussion on this since we've just been discussing it for a half an hour. But if you'd like, have at it. If not, we can use a motion.
I'll move we repurpose the CDBG RLF funds into public works lighting project in the downtown area between South Street and 4th Street Highway 20.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Call the roll.
Dustin,
You're like, this can't be anywhere else.
The quickest use of the funds. This is probably it. And that truly is my fear, is that HUD will just come in and want it. And because Tom did say, you know, this year.
Yes.
I'm like you, Dustin, I'm really hesitant on this. But as long as we, you know, I can't say we agree, but as long as we do put something, you know, in the back of our mind saying, we are gonna get serious about getting rid of these houses.
Yeah.
We need to, we not, you know, we've been talking about for years and years and years, and there hasn't been a whole lot of progress done on this. I know government moves slowly, but we need to get this project done. But yeah, I vote yes.
Yes.
Motion carried,
Can I ask a
3-0,
question?
and that's, I mean, I hear what you guys are saying, but like you just said, Brad, we're working on this for years and years. I don't see us getting it accomplished in 3 months before they come in and
No,
take the
no.
money.
I see them digging just north of the highway. Are they just guessing on the slope?
I sure hope they're not guessing.
I can see it come under the highway and then it goes, this big hump. Because
Eyeballing it.
they still had a flock to, you know, at least a block buried. They were at the library.
All right, well, my clock says 5 o'clock, so I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. Start with the routine business. Open Meetings Act is posted on the northwest wall as always. You can peruse that if you like. And Lisa, would you go ahead and call the roll?
Dustin, Brad,
Yes.
Kent,
Here.
Sean is apparently sick, so yeah, that's 3 out of 4. Would you all join me in the pledge of allegiance?
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody. Move on to the consent agenda. As always, you can approve all items with one motion, or you can consider them individually.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Call roll.
Brad,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Dustin.
Yes.
Carried unanimously. Move on to the mayor's report and appointments. I don't have any to report today, and I'm just gonna get another month behind in appointments this month, so next month there'll probably be a whole batch of them, I hope. I'll try to get caught up. So, we'll move on to item number 4, public hearings. We're gonna open the public hearing at 5:02 for the Community Development Block Grant Revolving Loan Fund to amend the plan to cease housing type activities with the fund and to repurpose the current fund balance, which is estimated to be about $158,000. And I think we can concurrently open the other public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant Revolving Loan Fund to repurpose the funds into the Public Works lighting project in the downtown area between South Street and 4th Street and Highway 20. So those public hearings are both open. Lisa, you want to give a little background first on that before?
Sure, well, I'll do my best. So
Yeah.
this was a block grant that the city applied for and received back in like the mid to late 90s. I feel like it's been a good program for the community. I can't, I guess, tell you off the top of my head what the initial award amount was, but it's a revolving loan fund, so, you know, when the city loans it out, the repayments coming back in just go right back into the fund for new loans. And so, right now we have about 13-ish files in the program.
How many was that, Lisa? I'm sorry.
13.
13.
And of course, there are varying levels in terms of loan amounts and repayment percentages, because it's based off of income. So the last amortization, I think I looked up, the last payment would be like 2037 at this point. So there's still going to be a lot of years of repayments coming back into this fund. But the history of why we're talking about it today, unfortunately, is not because of the purpose of the original program. Rather, the way our program is structured, we've got, the plan only allows for the loans to be $20,000 to $25,000, generally repaid over 20 years. So, you know, at $158,000, even if you make a couple of loans a year with the repayments, you're really not drawing that balance down. So according to the State Department of Economic Development, who's kind of the state level overseer of these funds originated from Housing and Urban Development, so they're federal funds being overseen by the state. HUD apparently is making a push to recapture any funds that are sitting somewhat idle. Even though our funds, I wouldn't consider them to be idle, because we have been making loans, at least probably 1 or 2 a year for the last several years, but because the balance is high enough that we're not spending it down with the repayments, HUD, it's felt by DED that HUD will consider them idle. One of the issues with those funds too, because they're low income funds, even though we're an LMI community, the threshold is low enough that it's not that we're not getting applicants to the program, it's just the threshold is so low, most people don't qualify. So that's an issue too in terms of being able to spend it down. So basically at the end of the day, after lots and lots of discussions, and Carla is here from CNED, so she can jump in and correct me around to it or whatever.
So far, so good.
But at the end of the day, I think what was presented to me by the Department of Economic Development is they're anticipating an audit themselves by HUD. They're fearful that the funds that cities across the state of Nebraska have with this program, that they're going to be considered idle and be recaptured by the federal government. So it's kind of like, if you want to keep this money in your community, you need to find another way to spend it that's within the guidelines and just get it used so that it can't be taken. So after a little bit of arguing about my opinion on the fact that I thought it was good for our community the way that it was, I was told they didn't really care about my opinion. and that it was kind of like, well, do you want to keep this money in your community or not? And so that's kind of, I think, the synopsis. And Carla and I have been working closely over the last, week or 2 weeks or whatever. This kind of came on kind of quickly.
It came on very quickly and pretty much out of the blue.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
and it's not anything that the community has done wrong or any of that. It's just that when HUD comes down, they come down with a heavy hand and you jump and do what they tell you to do. And we don't want the money to leave Ainsworth, so we're repurposing the funds in a different way.
So Tom Stevens at DD, he did tell Carla and I, after some in-depth discussions, kind of, not really wanting to repurpose the funds, I guess, to be honest, initially. He had indicated that HUD had audited the state of Wisconsin already, and that he had been in contact with them, and the state of Wisconsin had already had, they had $28 million in this program within the state, and after the audit, they were left with $2 million. HUD took $26 million.
So it's not
So
an idle
basically-
threat, really?
Basically, he was saying, we don't want that to happen to the state of Nebraska. We would like the state of Nebraska to be able to use those monies in the communities in other ways. So let's do something and be proactive and try to get it used. So we talked about a lot of different ideas and different timelines and things. And I guess because there are guidelines on what is allowed for repurposing and what is not, the best fit with everything we've got going on seemed to be the lighting downtown. So that is, I guess, the proposed project. We had talked originally about using the ARPA funds from COVID relief money to pay for that lighting. I think the ARPA funds probably, generally speaking, have less restrictions than this money will have, and so we could move that and use it for a different purpose. And that would be okay.
Will this amount cover the lighting project?
It'll be a little short,
Okay.
but
So Lisa, I have a question. This 158 is what's sitting there not used right now?
it's basically the cash balance in the bank.
So roughly what's out on loan right now? 13 projects.
I didn't
Ish.
total the total amount out, but like I said, the last repayment was gonna be in 2037. We're at the current rate right now, we get between $900 and $1,000 a month in repayments. So yes, basically you're gonna spend it all out and you're gonna be recapturing still.
We could still use, can we still do this program, or that's to be determined? I mean,
It's
you're
to
gonna
be
get some funds
determined, I
back, but
think.
just like we couldn't do a few still.
I think Tom did say that the city was not allowed to make any more housing loans. DED would not allow the
Okay.
city to make any, out
So we can't
of
loan
these
this-
funds.
we can't
Right,
loan this money
Carla?
out.
That's correct.
Yeah.
The state no longer offers is probably not the right word, but any CDBG grants, housing is not an option in the state of Nebraska anymore. So, there are the old programs like this one that are still out there, but since I've been with the district, their housing has not been an option. So,
So So my understanding was, that yes, DED acknowledges and is aware, of course, that we're gonna continue to recapture those payments, and that they'll probably be sitting idle because we can't spend them and they're earmarked. So he indicated that we would probably have to do another repurposing of those funds, and that he was hopeful, I guess is how I took it, that perhaps this could be repurposed into a general fund purpose of some way, shape, or form.
Thank you.
So we can't loan that money out if we want to, basically, is what you're saying.
I
That is correct.
think DED has said no.
So the first part of the public hearing to amend the plan, your hands are kind of tied. You have to do that.
We have to amend the plan.
Yeah,
Or lose the money.
correct.
That's for sure, they're gonna consider this inactive even though you've got 13 active loans,
Yeah, because the cash is sitting.
because there's money sitting there.
Mhm.
You have something, Kristen?
I do. I guess I actually talked to Lee Alexander, who administers, I'm also on the CNHD board, so there are lots of other communities in this situation. We're not the only ones. I do know that the state is allowing conversions for 5 years, is what I was told today. If it is less than $25,000 loan, which like Lisa said, a lot of those aren't coming in, we don't have as many applications. If they're 50% AMI, they would become forgivable loans. So we would have time to disperse cash for housing as forgivable loans, or essentially a grant. And Lee said a lot of communities have moved to that route. It could also be potentially converted for acquisitions and demolition for new housing development. According to our current plan, it's on the last page. She also said CNET, I think she's been working with you, Carla, I'm not sure who. She said you guys were in the process of getting ready to do a blitz let's try to eliminate as much of these funds as we can for housing. I know there's currently one application and there's others that are potentially, the one was waiting on a bid from a contractor. I guess I would just encourage us to go back to our housing study. Pages 12 and 13 specifically address housing and the need for rehab. I think there might be some other opportunities besides just lighting. I guess Carly, you're aware, but Lee makes it sound like there's lots of other communities that are repurposing and continuing to use it for housing. It just may look a little different.
I guess I would go with Tom's recommendation to move it to something else. I think maybe, and I think this may be a question to ask Tom, is the loans that you currently have out, if we change the program guidelines to make those current loans forgivable, and then you wouldn't have to worry about the repayments. But that's a question that we would need to ask, if that's something.
Tom and I did talk about that on the phone. Yes, he did offer that up with current loans, but that wasn't the pressing issue for today,
The pressing issue is the money.
And whether or not the city council is willing and open to the idea of forgiving existing loans when in the history of the program for the last 25 or 30 years, you've required the people to pay them back. And, that's a whole nother discussion that I guess I felt like didn't have to be answered today.
Right.
Tom wasn't asking for that answer today.
And my understanding was that he was concerned that we do this quickly, that 5 years, if we tried to do something a year or two from now, they might sweep it out from under us.
Because originally he and I talked about the ADA restroom that's gonna go in the mini park next year in that second phase of this highway project. Because it's an ADA project and it would be a widely used public facility, that was also, he thought a really good project until he started talking about the timeline. He didn't like the idea of waiting until 2025. He thought that was a risk. He was advising to try to get it spent down this summer.
So we can't use this money to demo a bunch of old houses? Can't use it for that. Has to be
no, because it is HUD funds, so HUD isn't in the business of demoing homes, even though they might be dilapidated or, you know, whatever.
Or potentially building a new one on it later.
But HUD is not in the business of
This
demoing.
is legit our only option for this money about.
Well, in terms of the timeline, I think, again, back to the discussion with Tom, there's a lot of eligible projects, a lot of eligible uses. The conversation that I had with him and the emergent nature he was conveying, I guess, was it had to be done readily. Like, you need a project ready today. And so I said, well, the only project we have ready today would be the one we're working on now. And so we talked about basically all the different elements of the downtown revitalization project and what of that fits the criteria of the repurposing. And he basically chose the lighting. It was his recommendation to use the lighting.
But we can put this towards the $150,000 towards the new clubhouse for the golf course or something out of the way.
I don't believe so.
The pool, nothing like that.
Is
I don't know about the
that
pool.
currently something that you're working on this summer,
What's that?
the pool?
Well, it's just like a pool fund that we're trying to get.
Yeah,
in.
but
It
we don't
has
have
to
a
be
plan
like-
or
It's
nothing like
idle.
that.
Plans or
It'd still be,
anything, so it's
it'd still be
gonna-
set idle in a different account.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
And the reason why he chose the lighting was because it's the smaller dollar amount. We didn't want to do the whole downtown revitalized project. We're just trying to make sure that we didn't have to, with the documentation that needs to be done, we wanted it a small enough project that we didn't have to continue to show, okay, we're doing sidewalks, so this concrete is part of the project, or something like that. So we tried to find a project within the grand project that was as close as possible to the dollar amount that was in the account.
And at the end of the day, you know, the whole downtown improvements, you know, phase 1, phase 2, what we're doing now versus the mini park next year, all of that's, you know, it's estimated at like 1.8 million. You got about close to 300,000 in ARPA funds, but beyond that, you're looking at long-term debt. So I guess when we're talking about this, I'm thinking, well, it's use it or lose it. It's that much less you're gonna have to pay debt. The city, the community would have to pay debt.
And maybe as those funds come back in the future, depending on what shakes out, we could use that for house demo.
Something.
Yeah, I mean,
Or probably not gonna redo loans, but.
Is your program income, do you get to keep that, or because it looks like it actually goes back to the state, is that right? Like any
Oh, those-
revolving loan funds that continue to come in?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Tom had indicated that we would, I took it as though we would continue to collect that and then have another conversation about that at a later date.
So does that need to be amended then on what's,
It will eventually, yes, it will have to be repurposed also,
The money that's coming back in.
yes.
because I think, doesn't the hearing notice say though that it's going to get sent back? Any remaining funds would be resent to BD?
I think that's how we had it worded initially in the hearing notice, I do believe so. Which was the information I think we had at the time, because we had to get the hearing notice done early to give the public enough time to get it into the paper and then give the public enough time.
Oh, well, any future program income funds not used in the project will be returned to Department of Economic Development, that portion.
And that's the section we're talking about, yes.
Okay, so we may never see those dollars, but that doesn't make any difference to me today.
Well, yeah, for what we're trying to do today.
Yeah, we can't. Can't affect that.
Well, like I said, I guess the conversation that I had with Tom on the phone was that because those loans are so far out yet into the future, that those monies would have to be readdressed at a later date. So I guess whether that means you've got to send it back, or I took it from him as though we likely could repurpose that also. But like I said, that's not 100%, I mean.
It's gonna be a whole group of faces in 2037.
So my question was if you have to repurpose the funds that were coming back in, or they just automatically go to Department of Ed, what is it, NED, is that what you're saying? DED? Does that mean, so is he suggesting then that money's coming back and that we should just say, forgive it all, so we don't have, so that they don't get any more of our money? And the people that have the loans are just, woohoo?
Well, that was one of the options, and like I said, that was not something that had to be decided today. I was more focused on the things that had to be done according to DED today. The council could consider that as an option. They could forgive those loans. I perceived that there would be a lot of strong opinions, and that's a little bit of a controversial discussion. Where it didn't need to be decided today, I thought that could be talked about at a later
We're not
date.
going down that.
And we can't do that today because it's not on the agenda.
Well, and that's why it's not on the agenda, I guess, because it wasn't necessarily, that
How much of that,
part wasn't.
how much of, you want the whole 158 moved, or just, what were you thinking?
Well, this is the recommendation by DEP, so that $158,000 is the cash balance today. More, give or take, a few dollars. So, basically, what you are considering is in a motion, you would say that you would agree to repurpose that $158,000, and then you would also need to have some kind of a motion whether or not you agree to use it on the lighting project as proposed.
But those are other new business.
And those are the two.
Yeah, we're still in the public hearing.
Right, but
so
that would be the outcome, I guess.
That's what we're
on the
looking
agenda
to do
today.
I don't know if we had to leave some money in it.
So I'd say let's do this and.
But we need to
continue
put a plan,
focus.
we need to, maybe even at the next meeting, have a plan together, not just put it in the back burner. We need to put a plan together so we know what we're doing and try to figure out how we're gonna get that plan to work.
Yeah.
Maybe
Can I ask a
Well,
question?
yeah, certainly.
Okay. With the repurposing of the funds, does that have to be approved by anyone that you're gonna use this on the light?
DED, but we've been in conversation. with
Right.
DED.
But there's, yeah, okay. But it has to, it could be changed down the road, things change all the time. I was just curious.
I
if-
suppose it could be, it
even
would be
though
another
you-
public hearing, you'd have to go
Yeah.
through this
We're
again,
doing
but
what they
theoretically
recommended,
speaking.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we assume they'll approve it.
And that's the whole reason of having those conversations beforehand, so that, hopefully what gets approved is actually doable.
Well, we don't like it, but it's HUD and feds. We don't have.
Well, I would have preferred to have just kept it like we had it, to be honest.
Not true. So it was a good job.
All right, moving on. Next item is to discuss and consider truck traffic along First Street and other, I think, all residential streets. And I know Kevin's here and Jade, I don't know if you guys want to make any comments or just open her up or.
Well, I think we need to work on getting the truck route put in and make it stick. Cause they're running down every street there is in town now, which, that'll shape some of our streets in, they're not gonna take very much. If they gotta do that all summer, there's just not gonna be nothing left of them. We need to make that truck route stick if we can.
Kevin, on First Street, I know that's the one that's kind of brought up on our agenda here. First Street, are you seeing them going from Main Street to Pine, or are you seeing them going both directions?
Both directions.
You are seeing them go both directions?
Yeah.
Your A&R trucks are on Oak
Yeah,
Street on your
they
new
got a loop.
concrete, you're
Yeah,
on, I mean, they're,
Who is, Greg?
all your A&R construction guys,
right.
removing all that,
Yeah.
they're on them
So they're
constantly.
pointing the right direction all the time, they got a loop, and yeah, they're on the original detour.
There's probably 20 or 30 trucks go down that first street every day, at least, might be more than that.
So, talk about your barricade idea.
But
Now, of course, that doesn't.
that I thought maybe as far as on Main Street first, we could put a barricade close by, so narrows that drive.
So they can't turn east.
So they couldn't turn east, but that does not help you on, you can't really do that on Pine and First, because that wouldn't work there. So that's why he's asking, if they're only coming from Main Street, coming down Pine, you can narrow that up to where only maybe 2 vehicles can pass, but it's almost impossible for a semi to turn in there.
Right. Only thing with Pine and First, you're still gonna have people turning off Pine, and this one here, you're still gonna be pretty pinched if you put barricades up there. Block it.
You know, can you, on those streets, get a sign that says no through truck traffic?
Yeah,
Or will they, who do we have that's gonna enforce it?
that's the big problem,
Well, there wouldn't be anything to enforce really unless we passed something, right? I mean, we would have to,
Kind of temporary city ordinance?
some sort of ordinance or something, which I think we could do, but I don't know if we can do that tonight. We might have to advertise.
I was gonna say, I
And
don't-
we probably don't have the signage anyway to do that, so we'd have to order the signage.
Did you have other thoughts? I mean, I agree with the signage, but
Well, the mayor and I talked about stop signs at every intersection, but they're not gonna stop at them anyway. And all that's gonna end up doing is causing a wreck. If one of them stops and the other one don't and takes off and.
Stopping and starting probably tears it up worse anyway, doesn't it?
Well, it can't really tear up much worse than that.
That's true.
But when we get to this temperature, that's gonna be 90 to 100 degrees on that asphalt, the semis are just gonna sink.
Where they're turning on and off, they're gonna just rip it up. It's already happening now, and it's not even close to that. They're already tearing it up.
well, is it gonna come to such a thing, we just gotta close the street where you narrow the barricades and it says local traffic only?
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, if we close one end or the other.
You'd have to do both ends.
Well, I'm
Well,
saying,
you
you
can't
can't
do
let the
both.
residents in there.
Right, but I mean, you see how they do, they put the barricades and you got one little slot in between.
Well, you can't really close it up because it's an emergency route.
Well, that CBA, them trucks run and pull in clear down to Oak Street. They pull in and out of it, all the way along there, so
Of course, they could come in from the south and pull
yeah. Yeah, if we could get them to go out around, and
in. Yeah.
it'd be great, but I don't know how to. Unless you put a sign up that says no through truck traffic down First Street, have a sign right there at Pine Street, but
I think we need to.
there still can come from the west and come down it, so I don't know
So
how.
sign it on both ends.
Well, there again, co-op, that semis run in and out of there, or CBA's got trucks running in and out of there all day long, I mean.
Lumberyard, that's where the unload is on that street right there. Because they really have no place else to unload.
Right.
So you can't stop them from
No.
parking there to unload their lumber.
So about the only thing you can do is go from Oak Street to Pine Street, and that's just about defeating the purpose there, so. I don't know what the answer is at all, I don't have a clue, but boy, they're gonna tear it up, there won't be nothing left of it by the end of the summer.
Yeah, if we don't have any good answers.
What options do we have?
I think our hands are tied. I mean,
Deal with the aftermath.
yeah,
Well, at the very least, we could sign and try to discourage some traffic.
Well, I mean, at the rate that's going right now, you're probably gonna end up closing the street, because they're gonna be humongous potholes and dugout.
yeah, come about July,
They're
it's
gonna be-
gonna be a mess.
I mean, so like, can you just close it right now and prevent the mess?
Emergency, that's an emergency
You
street.
can't close it, it's emergency route, from Maine to Pine's emergency
Well, if
route.
we have a street project, Kevin, it'll be closed.
Then you set up a detour, emergency detour then.
Yeah.
So we'd have to go through that project, setting up emergency detour.
If you could just get them guys to go around, you know, even the ones that go to CVA, if you could just get them to go around the detour, it'd be great, you know, wouldn't be no problem, but I don't know how you're gonna get them to do that. 'Cause they know they can
Yeah, and the
slip down,
thing is, if we close one street, then they're just gonna go to the next
they'll
one.
go to the second
You know,
street.
you
start
just
tearing
push it
up.
on to the next spot,
Yep,
which is, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's maybe what we did by not sticking with the original proposed detour route, because we had a group of folks come in and say, no, you can't do it on our street. So we tried, we said, okay, we'll do this other, which
I think you still
Isn't
have the
working.
same, I think you still have the same problem.
you might.
Same way, you don't want it running down the school blocks. You don't want them running down the school blocks either way. That's why you moved it to where you did. You don't want that
Yeah, I
near
mean,
your,
I
you
prefer
want
it
semis
street
coming
than
down your school blocks.
Where it was gonna go, because it's too close to school, if you ask me, having kids walking to church and stuff like that, that's a little sketch, but. I think they were gonna run down First Street as soon as it got closed, no matter what. Or-
well, you got stop signs up and down Second and Third Street, so they're not gonna run that. You know, there's stop signs all the way to Main Street.
Not unless you put a stop sign in every deal, make it a pain for them to go down.
That's what we talked about.
Because, you know, like going down First Street, it's like a free flying, free shot, quickest route through. If you put a stop sign every block temporarily,
We did that a couple years ago on a detour and nobody stopped.
well, that's what we have in law enforcement.
We do.
For a while. Kevin, what I'm hearing is, yeah, maybe some stop signs and some no truck traffic. At
Yeah.
least we gotta do something.
If you could get somebody to patrol it and put them stop signs up and make it work, then trucks wouldn't go down it because they go around. They're
Yeah.
not gonna pull up, stop every block.
Yes.
Is it just CVA, or is it everybody and their dog that has a semi in Brown County? Okay.
Trucks coming in from the
If-
south and going
And it may
south.
not just be locals. It could
Right,
be-
that's what I thought, If it's just the CVA
And the
thing.
more boisterous
No.
we get on that detour, the more they're gonna try to stay off of it.
If you could've seen the shape
The
we
county's
did.
doing a decent job trying
Yeah,
to keep
yeah.
up with it and getting gravel on it and stuff, but it's gonna,
I think we sign and put stop signs both, that's my opinion.
I think we do too, and then, you know, we are paying a lot of money for law enforcement, so.
And we don't necessarily need, we don't have to take action to put up stop signs, do we? You can put up whatever street signs you deem necessary.
you have that authority, don't you, as mayor?
I'm sure I do.
There used to be probably some type of.
Well, we used to set them up for the carnival on Second Street, Third Street over on the west side of Main. We set them up in the middle of the intersection there, never had to do anything special.
You just need to get creative with your signs. No truck traffic, prosecutors will be shot. Come on, Kevin.
Well, that's the best driver, not let him drive down.
Sounds like you need a paving district scheduled for next year for First Street.
Novel idea.
So,
That's the very first one that's on it, First Street,
As needed.
the most traveled street. in
I think
town.
we need a motion.
Okay, before we get on to that motion, since we're discussing streets, we talked about that, but
No stop signs.
I've been thinking about it since our last meeting, because we talked about streets. And we really need to do Pine and First, in my opinion. And I forget the process, Lisa, but when the city initiates it, it's a different percentage than when homeowners do it. For how many square footage you have to get.
I guess I don't know that off the top of my head.
But, we're gonna need to do it. So we need to, whether it's request for proposals, or we need to have that on the next agenda. And I know you don't know how that's all gonna flush out financially, but housing and streets, we've both discussed and top priorities for us, in my opinion.
It's so like, yeah, if it's gonna be a process, we should start that.
Yeah,
First Street, fine.
yeah.
Your
And
emergency.
I don't know, you know, people have talked about the other, I'll call them the tree streets, you know, running between First and the highway. Lots of those need replaced. Maybe the homeowners on those need to get together if they want to and band in. But I think we do, I don't know, I don't want to speak for Jim, but we got some business owners on First and Pine. That probably is a more palatable political opportunity. That's my 2 cents on that.
I make a motion that the mayor gets with our street superintendent and figure out how many signage, what kind of signage we need down First Street, and possible if he needs to put any on Pine Street, and get those placed.
I'll second.
We
Motion.
got enough stop signs to do all the way down to Main Street.
On First Street,
Yes.
yeah, that would be like where I'd start, is right there, and make it an inconvenience for them, but
We just set a portable deal up in the middle of the intersection, put a stop sign on both sides of it.
I think I'd put also no through truck traffic.
Well, they probably want to put that right down on Pine.
both
I don't know
ends.
how you're gonna do it on this end, because like I say,
Well, it's not gonna be through traffic, they'll just go
Right.
through and come.
If they're
as long
going
as
into their
as long as they're not
business.
going down to Bit, as long as they're not going down to
Yeah.
Pine around, they can go in and turn around and come back out.
right.
But so it won't be through traffic.
And I might check with the state, they might have a sign we can put up down there on First and Pine, no through truck traffic or.
Okay,
Does it make sense to just talk to somebody at CDA as well and see if they'd be willing to instruct their drivers to use the detour route, if, you know, just as a help?
because they come in from their deal through the south facing north, and then they have to pull back out to the highway, so. But when they tear that up, they have to go different directions, so they might have to go straight out to, off of Walnut to Main Street, or to Highway 20.
And I noticed probably most of the problem, trucks coming in from the south that go ahead and sneak through, they've got them things that go off in the ditch. When we set that up out there for the carnival, we had them up on the highway, so there was just enough room for pickups and cars to get through there. They've got
That's
them
what I was
things-
getting at, so it makes it impossible for them to turn in.
Well, yeah, I mean, it stops the traffic from the trucks coming from the south. If it's wide enough for a vehicle to go through, then they're not gonna try and come through there with a truck, they'll take the truck route. Then they'll probably just go around, come down First Street, so it don't have to be there.
There's a motion and a second.
I didn't get a second.
Oh, I'll second.
Well, I thought there was.
Sorry.
Was a second. Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Brad,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Dustin.
Yes. All right, related to the streets, we got alleys. Next item is to consider request to designate alleys on the east and west sides of Main Street as one-way traffic. Request from the
Can I speak? I don't know if the.
Child Development Center, so if anybody there wants to.
So, you know, we're open for business now, and we're right in the middle of the block, so you can't just park on the corner and easily walk through. So we have designated parking on the back, in the alley, behind our fence. And then Sean Furno is letting our employees park. He made a parking area for our employees to park in. The problem is, when we're dropping children off, is that only one vehicle can fit going down the alleys. And when we've got vehicles coming from both north and south, it's really scary. You know, I've got 2 kids I'm running in the mornings and trying to get out on the road, and you know, all of us are trying to drop our kids off at 8, and there's vehicle traffic coming from both sides. So it'd be really great, and not just on our alley, on all the alleys, because everyone's seeing it, if we could go north to south or south to north.
Have you discussed it, because it's gonna affect all businesses on both sides, plus it's gonna affect, I know on third block, residents on that side, if you do a one-way. Have you personally contacted those businesses and people on how, if they're willing to do this, and how it'll affect them?
So thus far, no, we haven't yet.
Okay.
Obviously talked to Sean about it. The other businesses, it appears that no one else is parking in the alley. On our alley. On our alley, there's no one else parking in our alley.
I don't think you could just limit, if you're gonna do a one-way, I don't know if you can just limit it, maybe you can, to just one block. And maybe, I don't know if you can or not.
And I don't know either. I know the bus from Little Paws drops off from south to north, because then the kids can just walk right into our building. But, I mean, I had to back my pickup out this morning because there was a diesel pickup coming from the south, and I was coming.
Well, I'm sure with this,
It's gonna be a.
I'm sure with construction that the alleys are miserable. They're busy, and, you know, we need to do something to keep everybody safe, but I guess I'd like to hear from the rest of the businesses how it would affect them, because they might say, well, I know I want to go from north to south, and you guys want to go from south to north.
Right, and we're indifferent, we're truly indifferent what way we go, we
Yeah.
just want one way, one way.
Jay, do you have a
And if
question?
it's just for our block, that, just for kids, you know, that we'd be open to that.
When I pick the trash up, I go south.
And that's, we knew you went north to south, and the bus goes south to north, and,
I have to go that way, and on the other side, on the east, I gotta go north
sure.
when I pick the trash up.
And I think the bus just does it because they're just coming from right there. So I don't think it would be inconvenient for us to ask them. Well, if it was north to south, they would do north to south. We can definitely talk to them, but I don't want to wait another month with what, you know, we're dealing with children.
Katie's got a question.
Yeah.
I'm here on behalf of the chamber, and I did visit with the post office this afternoon, and they had some near accidents behind the post office due to the confusion with the traffic. They respectfully request that the traffic move one way, but from south to north. That way their Amazon and other freight trucks can drive north up the alley and back into the post office and then pull straight out. So if you guys do decide to make the alleys one way, the post office requests that it be north traffic behind them.
I'm sure the Methodist Church on that block would want to do it the same way, because they're parking in the alley at the Methodist Church comes in from the south, and I think they go park up next to, on the east side of the church.
We're back there, it's tough, and we're in the next block north, it's tough. The delivery drivers, for the most part, that we have come from south to north right now. But it's, you pull into where some of those short buildings, you have parking back there, you just grit your teeth and take your chances when you're backing out back into the alley. You got, I mean, and when you're in that alley, you better go slow, because there are people that are having to back out that cannot see at all until they clear those buildings. So it's, if you know you're only looking for traffic one way, it probably would be easier.
So Jim, they haven't closed your block yet. How's life down your way?
Well, it's Main Street right now. I just want them to slow down. I don't care which direction you go. They just fly down it. They drive down it like it's a street.
You're talking
That's why
First
you have,
Street?
that's why you have so many accidents if you have them in the alleys. These guys drive down there at 20, 25, 30 miles an hour. Slow them down. I'd rather see them slowed down. That's why when the carnival's here, we actually park forklifts out in the alley to keep people from getting hit. We gotta slow them down.
I'd like to put some speed bumps up there too, but
You already got them,
You
they're
already
called
got them.
potholes. They're called massive potholes.
They're
You
very
go
naturally
through that
there.
at 25, 30 miles an hour in our block, you're ruining your suspension.
some of them people can straddle them and they get lost. But now we're talking about extra money for a short fix on, and we don't want to just spend a whole bunch of extra money for a short fix.
What's your suggestion from the street department?
Well, on the west side, he's gotta go
It's gotta
south.
go south.
He's gotta go south to pick the trash up. I mean, there's no way he can come from the south.
For
north.
Viero, I gotta come in by the post office and back up to that dumpster at Viero. I can't do it coming from the south.
And see, that doesn't work for the post office. I get you.
But if trash is just one day a week, it's on Fridays, right? You come
3
down,
days a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I go down the alleys.
you do.
Yep.
So can there be an exception for the
Well,
trash
you got
truck?
traffic
I
come
mean,
this way, and
know.
then somebody sees that truck going that way, they're gonna follow them because they're going that way.
Rules for thee, but not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, the trash truck could be exempt, and what time are you doing that? Is there much traffic then?
Usually it's right after dinner on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays I'm before dinner.
Oh, so there's probably other traffic.
I mean, I run into people coming at me all the time, and I say, I'm sorry, I can't get all the way.
Well, we have banks on our side.
What's that, Jim?
We have drive-ups on our side, so everybody normally comes from the south. Because they go to both drive-ups at both ends. So the main flow comes from the south. Just gotta slow them down.
That's another thing on First Street.
people, it's a good average 35, 40 mile an hour down that First Street. I mean, that's just an average.
So pretty soon we're gonna have enough speed bumps on First Street, it won't make any difference.
Well, it's rough enough, like, they're taking their own life in their hands when they're going that fast anyway, but they speed down that thing bad.
But then it messes up the church, it messes up the post office on that block.
I move we adjourn.
I think we should. I don't want to take any action on this, because I haven't talked to any businesses, any residents, anything. And then, what are you gonna, how are you gonna know which way to go?
We're already in, I can't decide what direction to go because it doesn't work for different people.
Well, we could, the north block on the west, we could do, you don't have to do the whole alley the same way. You could split it, that north block off, if you had to, make the east side the same the whole way.
I mean, if we wanted to just do one way, we could do the Child Development Center block, one way, going from north to south, for now. Just the one block.
Do that, leave the others
Just-
alone.
And leave the others alone until we, because I know I had a request from somebody else that, that they're gonna like to see the next block to the south, or to the north, have a one-way permanently going forward, so. But that's gonna be further on down and they wanna go from, south to north as well.
Everybody wants to go south to north.
Yeah. But I guess I would make a motion to have one-way streets on the west side of Main Street, on the 200 block, the traffic going north to south.
So they just say south and north.
That's wrong for you?
North to south, right? You wanna go north to south?
He wants to
Yeah,
go that way.
you want to go north to south.
Right,
Yeah. Is that what I said?
Yeah, I think so.
That's what you said.
on the west side. yeah.
On the west side.
We're not
200
trying to
200 block.
overcomplicate, like, I know the school during certain hours, like if pickup and drop off time, that's just maybe too confusing, you know, but if you didn't wanna go all hours or something with the posting, but
I guess even this one way over here is too confusing for people
Yeah.
sometimes.
It's
Right.
more signage and more hours.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we got a motion to make the alley on that one block,
200 block.
north to south. I didn't hear a second.
I'll second.
Got a second from Kent. Any other discussion?
So this is
Anybody?
gonna start a whole nother block by block, where you go north to south, south to north.
I'll
south,
address
south,
my
north.
thoughts on that. The rest, we're just gonna have to live with.
That's what I would say.
I mean, we got childcare into one, but you got post office wants to go one way, different people are just gonna have to be
Where do
courteous.
they drop off their little paws?
in the front.
For
Or
now.
I guess.
Yeah, the
For
street
now.
isn't torn up yet right in front of Little Paws, so I think they're
Probably like
still.
there's a bus, or they all just.
But when they
drop-
start that, this in front of their place might be opened back up again.
So this is a temporary thing.
This is temporary
Just
for,
temporary.
this
So
temporary.
temporary.
We're talking like for like a month or so.
We're talking until their main street is opened back
Right,
up.
like 3 or 4.
Yeah, until Main Street, up until we tore off, everyone comes in the front, only the employees come in the back. But now we've got kids.
Yeah, but once they get that section done, they only went 2/3 of the way down the block, so it's gonna be closed August
Yeah. This is
Yeah,
probably
September.
gonna be a 3-4 month
Yeah,
detour
3 or 4
on.
months
at least.
So that's gonna be in your motion, gonna be like that for so long?
Until Main
Until
Street.
the,
We can rescind it.
yeah, I'll rescind that motion and add until, 200 block of Main Street is opened back up for parking. Would that work?
This is the only one we're doing.
This is the only block we're doing. I'm not 100% in favor of this either. I'm looking out for safety for the kids.
I'm all about safety for the kids, but I want this to be a big cluster, when I want north to south, and the next block south and north.
No, if
This
we ever
one
went
says,
to,
this
if
one's
we ever went
that.
to a complete detour, we would have to do one block one way, the other block the other way. We couldn't pick and
The
choose
whole way.
different ways. gotta be almost impossible to enforce anyway.
We're not trying to make it more difficult either. I understand that puts you in a position, we don't want to make you have to decide block by block either.
I mean, cause me right now, you'd be like, I tell the parents, the school wants all the parents to drop off in one direction. I can't imagine a whole lot of other vehicle traffic. Trying to think what else is back
We've
there.
already done that. We did. We asked them to come from north to south already.
Because if you'd
More
meet
than just
somebody
the
back there, you know, they could always scoot behind Sean's building and get out of the way, or,
But now people are parking there now.
I'm talking about like, to get out of the way if you met somebody.
Right.
Versus some of the blocks you can't.
It's amazing how much traffic the alleys have.
Yeah, there's a lot right now.
From Highway 20 down to Century.
Yeah, there's a lot, both sides,
Both
east and
sides.
west, just got a lot of traffic right now in those alleys.
There's the smooth, everybody wants to drive
Ooh,
down now.
boy.
I think I saw a Volkswagen right behind the 402, but it was.
I lost
there
my
it is.
west, I lost my west main lake right out in front, so we got a couple potholes big enough we might be able to stop the back.
So that, everybody understand my amended motion?
Is there a second to that, if you understand it?
I need to get the gist of what I wanna do. I don't agree with it, I don't. I mean, I'm gonna make that motion, but
I just don't
it's
wanna-
not a perfect
I just don't
scenario.
want to open a can of worms and everybody's gonna start coming and saying, well, you did it for them, why can't you do it for us, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's where I'm at.
I guess also to realize that if we do get a bunch of feedback, next meeting, we might have to change it back.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we'll talk to the businesses around us too. But right now, they're able to park on these ways, east and west roads, because we're just right in the middle there.
Still looking for a second, or the motion's gonna die?
I'll second it on the fact that we might be coming here next month, might kibosh the whole thing.
Motion and a second. You got that written down?
I believe I have it.
Go ahead and call the roll.
Kent,
Yes.
Dustin,
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Hey, motion carried. I wasn't sure it was gonna.
Thank you guys, we really appreciate it. How soon will that signage go up?
November, December.
Touche.
Well, the street guy left, so you're on.
I turned down here, come on.
We might have to order I don't know if we have any one-way signs, we might have to order.
School closes middle of May, so you can take theirs
We can
and
serve
pick
theirs
them.
and.
We don't have any one-way signs, do we, Kevin?
What's that?
Do we have any one-way signs?
I don't know,
We need probably two, I guess,
we
for
can
now.
probably get them from the state if they're just gonna be a temporary.
It'll be
deal.
temporary, yeah. If not, we'll have to order them, and it's just gonna be that much of a delay.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like it is now until the signs are up.
Sure.
And if we got signs, we can get them up, you know, this week if we got the signs, if that's what you wanna do. We'll just probably put them on the telephone pole, and we'll telephone signs right now.
I really don't think people are gonna look at them and obey them anyway.
No,
All right,
You
moving
can
on.
quote me on that.
We're gonna head to the next item, is to consider recommendations by the LD 840 Loan Committee. We got a couple here. First one is the facade grant application number 24-01 in the amount of $75,7899.
So, don't discuss
You
it.
know, looking at them, or?
If you have any questions, you guys have seen the packets, correct?
They're here if we want to see it.
You see, it was just I mean, the only difference was it was a prorated because of the alley.
Paint signage,
For the front of the building?
paint signage for street facing portions of the building.
Main Street.
It's a Main Street downtown building,
And because this is a different year, they qualify again.
correct.
Yeah, I think there was something on in the alley, but that was removed from it, because it's not eligible.
Right, that's good.
Well, we approve facade grant application 2401, the amount of $75,78.99.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? I was guessing not, because there wasn't much to begin with. Go ahead and call the roll.
Dustin,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous.
And that's for who?
Ainsworth Child Development Center.
Next one is an extension request on a facade grant, number 2301, to April 10th, 2025. I know we would typically like to have them done in a year, and for the most part, they've been going pretty good. But apparently this one wasn't able to get completed. You know, sometimes that happens, so.
This is also a downtown business, and so I think some of the delay, well, one of the reasons I think is because of the construction now. They just can't get in. It was windows, so.
Originally, they requested a shorter time frame, but the loan committee recommends that we extend that for a year, so it would be to 2025. They requested back in March, but because of the construction, we know that they're going to have a very tough time getting in there.
When's the
So give them another year.
construction going to be done?
Well, of course, that's all weather and things related, but I think DOT's timeline is end of November, December.
So they're gonna somehow replace windows in December and January.
No, that's why we're giving them until April.
Let's go to April.
So
We gave them out that whole year because of this project.
theoretically.
April 2025?
That was the loan committee recommendation. So we're not coming back and meeting again.
Can we discuss that publicly, who it is, or I forget?
That's true.
Yes.
So who is it and what's going on?
It's one-up properties, so it's the building, well, it's a pharmacy building on the
Oh, right, 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 right.
southwest corner.
Yeah.
And it was windows on the apartment area upstairs, basically.
So what if they don't get it done in this year, then you can wash it, then what, they're just gonna reapply?
They would have to reapply or again request an extension, but you
Or
know,
you
the
wouldn't
loan
make-
committee would be probably not as,
At this point,
You
I'm
wanna make it longer?
No,
No, I'm just saying like, okay, I just don't see how they're gonna get it done in the wintertime, personally myself, unless somebody's slowing up, I'm just whatever. You're gonna give them another year, what if they don't get it done, they kibosh it, then they're gonna come back and apply, why don't they just kibosh it and apply? Whenever the construction's done and they know they can get in there and get it
loan
done.
committee discussed that, you know, if that was an option, and the loan committee's recommendation was to just go ahead and extend it for a year, let's see what happens, they need to come back and reapply. You know, if they cancel it out at the end of that next year, then yes.
They might get some work done.
I'd say maybe go ahead, you know, my opinion is to go ahead and maybe have this extension, but if it does not get done, then they have to reapply. We will not give them a second extension.
Right, I'm not gonna give it another extension, but I'm just like, I would think it would have been a lot easier to do it, it doesn't matter, before the construction. I just see that
Yeah, when you
they're
got
gonna run
that, you
into
know,
more,
if somebody's gonna give you $10,000, don't you wanna try to get it done so you get the $10,000?
So that's all that building on the corner, yeah. And then it's
I'll make a motion for the extension request for a facade grant application 23.01 to April 10th, 2025.
Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion?
Do we know when it was originally approved? When, I don't remember when
It
it
was like a
was.
year ago, March, I believe.
March of '23.
Go ahead and call the roll.
Brad,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Dustin,
yes.
Motion carried 3-0. Moving on, next item, we got a couple of things from the Ainsworth Betterment Committee for grant funds. First one is a request or a recommendation for $70,000 to the Ainsworth Child Development Center for the proposed playground project. I guess I know, I've had more calls on this than any other ABC recommendation in the past. I'm pretty sure the councilmen have also received a lot of calls. And frankly, most of them were against recommending that amount. So I'm concerned about approving it, that's up to you guys. But I guess my recommendation would be to maybe to hold off on that one and just get a little more public input. There's a lot of concerns about taxpayer money being used for tax exempt private playground, and so, I don't know, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm like you, I've had probably 8 or 10 calls, one in favor of it, but the rest of them were definitely had concerns about that type of dollars going towards that. I even had 2 separate daycares call me and say, well, if we give them that kind of money, can we apply for money for their daycare as well and use ABC money for that? So what are we opening up if we do this kind of dollars for a business? Yeah, I know it's for nonprofit and stuff like that, but it is still, to me, a business. We're taking in money, and it is a business.
So I'd like to hear from the folks that are on the committee, their thought behind the request.
Sure. So, Deborah, you want to go first, or you want me to? Okay, so Nancy Steinhauser and Deborah have been working on it extensively. Nancy unexpectedly couldn't be here this evening. So our full bid to do that entire project is $140,000, and that is throwing everything in, labor, mural, yeah, you name it. And it should have been in your packet, I think, all of that information. And so, you know, we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we do have the ability to open it to the public when we are not in business hours. So as long as a board member or a staff member is on site, it can be used by the public when we're not open for business.
And that's according to our liability insurance.
Correct, yes, we confirmed that again today with our liability insurance. You know, I guess a big difference that we see is that, you know, currently we're beautifying Main Street and making it, you know, look really nice, and we're right on Main Street. You know, everyone's gonna see it, everyone's gonna drive by it and see kids, you know, out there playing. And right now they're out there playing in the mud, which is fine.
They like that probably better.
They probably do like that better. But then, you know, we also are really helping a lot with our economic development as a, you know, community. So today, we employ 7 full-time staff, and we are serving 15 families. By May 13th, we're gonna have 9 full-time staff and 3 part-time staff, and have 23 families in our facility. So we're allowing a lot of families to continue to work in our community. We're allowing a lot of businesses to recruit more to get people to come to our community because of the, you know, availability of childcare.
And retention, and yes, we are a business, but our goal is to cash flow, but our goal is not to make excessive amounts of money. We are not benefiting financially from this. We are benefiting in the fact that our children have a place to go that is reliable and open. And so, yeah, so that would be my argument against that. And as a nonprofit, like we did this out of necessity because we care about it and we want the community to have access to this for professionals, for recruiting, for retention. And I think all of our families in unique ways are good examples of recruitment and retention and with childcare as a piece of that component. And if you look at our overarching plan, like I would be happy to, we want to support other in-homes. We need more. Like our waiting list is long. We can't support the families already, even at full capacity, that are in need. So I think if childcare is a big component into our overarching plan, housing and childcare, I know specifically this is going to our outdoor space, and that might be the point of contention, but we're welcome to feedback from that. Like we said, it can be used for public use with our liability insurance under that rule, but that would be my feedback to that. I'm surprised and would welcome more feedback from you guys if there's another point of contention I'm missing.
I think, you know, the original $140,000 for playground project, you know, I think anybody that hears that say, what the heck, why why such a big dollar amount for playground equipment? Then, you know, a few people call, can they start out small and maybe over the next 3 or 4 years build up to that? Can we just get by with, you know, maybe $25,000 this year and put something in there so the kids can have something to play on, stuff like that? Do we need to do the whole $140,000 right now?
So, you guys, I'm assuming, have seen the numbers, right? It was in your packets. And so, you know, a huge expense is that we have decided it's more cost-effective long-term to do turf. The costs for turf and sod are the same, and there's no maintenance on turf, and there's a lot of maintenance on sod. But we have to dig out that entire, so it's 75 by 50. It has to be dug out 4 inches, and then backfilled with 3 inches of sand.
3 inches of rock and 1 inch of sand, because we want to make sure that turf is permeable, and so we don't want to cause any drainage issues. So we're providing a drainage field for that rainwater to go, so we don't cause any issues that way. And so I would say the bulk of that would be the dirt work that's necessary for that.
Yeah, I don't doubt that you guys have planned it out and probably planned out exactly the way it needs to be, but does that have to be this year?
So I think that the turf, we have to start with a good foundation, right? So we have to start with the turf, right? You know, we don't have to put a slide feature in. We don't have to put a swing in. We need to have concrete. So the school is currently working on building a storage facility so that we can keep all of our toys, you know, inside when they're not being played with to, you know, obviously protect the longevity of those things. And so that has to be put on a concrete pad. In order for kids to have a ride-on area, we have to do a concrete circle. And have you guys actually seen the layout of the playground? What's going on? Apologize. And so a lot of those, the bigger costs are the initial cost, right? So we can, you know, we can delay doing some things, but we can't delay concrete and turf.
And so I talked with a couple of landscape companies just to get a better idea of kind of what that's all gonna kind of cost. And I was hearing anywhere from, for materials and labor to do this amount of space, is that $50,000 to $60,000 to do that. So that is, I would say that is.
So you said 23 families, you have 23
So we have
young
23,
people now?
so today we have 15 families. We have 23 children enrolled today with 15 families. We will be at full capacity staff-wise May 13th.
So you'll be full for staff?
We'll be full staff, so
Okay.
then we'll be full capacity, and those families have already put their enrollment fee down to hold their spot to start May 13th. And so on May 13th, we'll have 23 families, 46 children.
46.
Yep.
And that's your max?
That's our max, yes. Yep. And we're really excited, it's coming out this Friday, but we are gonna be able to offer summer care for some of our elementary families. So from kindergarten through 2nd grade are gonna be able to apply for full-time summer care. And that's coming, we're giving our internal families today, they have a week to decide if they have school-age children to come. And then that leaves a handful of spots for school-age children this summer.
I did see you got a couple sizable gifts recently. Those were posted publicly. You got a couple large donations.
Yes, so we got a private funder in Omaha, so John and Diane Scott gave us a $50,000 donation for our scholarship fund.
Okay.
So they're specifically donated funds, not for outdoor play equipment. And we have searched and searched and searched for grants for playground equipment. And Kristen has also helped us with that. A lot of those grants are for, you know, the school playground, so a set playground system. And we've worked a lot with UNL. This woman, Katie at UNL, is helping communities across Nebraska design really nature-based, play-based playgrounds. And so we don't really have the space for a big equipment structure. And also, there's a lot of research and time that has gone into structures like that for children to play on every day. They get really bored. and they don't play with them. So our whole entire goal is to have a very nature-based play area that we can change. And we don't really have the space. There's huge fall zones for those types of structures, and we just don't have that space in that 50 by 75 foot to be able to do that. So a lot of things we're having to build on our own to fit our area and still be, you know, super functional for children.
So, I have Dr. Spence here. You are on the ABC committee, sir?
Sure.
I'm curious on your thoughts after your meeting.
First of all, this is an amazing project. You all know that, and we all know the benefits that it's gonna provide for our community when it's completed. And the fact that it's a $2 million project and it's debt-free. I mean, how much better can it be than that? That being said, the request was for $140, and I think and Lisa, correct me if my figures are wrong, but we have 166,000, give or take a little, in that fund. The first thing we did at the meeting was allocate 30,000 for the swimming pool fund. We've done that, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years now.
I've been here 9 and we've done it every year.
Yeah, it's got a pretty good chunk of money now drawing interest, so we did that first. That left us with $136,000 of funds to allocate. There was a Muriel project there that was 25,000, and we thought we could delay that project. I like Muriel's, but we thought we could delay that. And so that took it around down to $100,000 or so that we had, or that their project that we could play with. And you know, frankly, we talked. If these people could come up with $2 million to do what they do, we thought that they could come up with 30,000 to finish that project with our $70,000 that we allocated to the project. So there we are. We didn't nitpick the proposal that they gave us, you know. We thought some of that stuff was kind of expensive, but that's the way it is these days. And so that's where that's kind of how we arrived at the $70,000 project, or $70,000 amount. So, any questions for me or anything?
I just wanna know how you're gonna come up with the other money.
Say again?
How are if it's 140,000 or 100,000 or whatever it is, how do you guys plan on coming up with the rest of the money?
You're not,
yeah, like,
yeah.
How, like, let's say you guys need to, first of all, this is the record for me, as far as phone calls. The record, this topic right here.
Is the point can you share more about, go ahead.
This is a very controversial topic, to say the least, a lot of upset people. None of them that I talk to are in favor of this.
Can I interject? And I also got that, ladies. And it's not that people don't appreciate the project. It's public tax dollars to a playground that's not open to the public unless you're there. But I gotta be honest, I mean, you're not gonna wanna go down on a Sunday and watch the playground when you've got your own lives to do. I mean, that's my opinion on it. If you did, that's fine, but that's the pushback I've got.
There's no question the value of the child care.
No, that's not the issue. It's like we have old dilapidated equipment in the park that nobody's putting any money into, but we can put 70,000 into one little thing that nobody gets to enjoy other than the whatever, or that it monopolizes the daycare. Well, you can only play there if your kid goes there. In a sense, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
So I mean, and I don't know.
So, you know, like Brad was saying earlier, you know, not only have you other business style daycares that are saying, okay, what do I get out, you know, what am I gonna get? Because essentially, you're hurting their business. Even though there's a demand, but I'm just saying that you're hurting other businesses also on this. Because
I
you're,
respect that comment so much, I do, and I can see how it can be portrayed that way, but since we have started this project 4 years ago, the in-home childcare providers have all raised their prices to help their businesses. So by us advocating for just the need for childcare and the price that we listed ours at, it made the entire community realize how worthy the individuals that are caring for our children are and how deserving they are to be a small business owner and earn what they put into it. And so I do, I respect that. I guess my response, why do we get this when we have other things to be working on? It would come down to our hard work and determination. We are requesting these funds when the funds are available. And there's been a need for projects around Ainsworth for how long? And yet we still have $166,000 sitting in the ABC account.
And of our raised funds, it is unheard of for our project to be done with so many outside dollars. What was our percentage?
So 20% of our funding was local, Brown Rock, Kibaha County, and the remainder was all grants and private donors outside of our area.
And if you were to compare our facility to any other facility in a community, that number would for sure be at 50% or higher.
And all of the large donors in Omaha and Lincoln and a lot of the grant, so the DHHS money, generally require 50% local funds before they will donate to your project. And we sold them on a strong business plan, a strong need, and a strong follow through. And I mean, we're involved with Communities for Kids, which is part of First Five Nebraska, which works with small towns all over the state. And Ainsworth is the topic of conversation at all of their meetings because we've done it in what seems like forever. But 4 years is such a short amount of time to raise the funds we've raised and open and accepting children. And it's literally 4 years, like to the month. We started this when COVID hit, and at a kitchen table. And so, I also think that for ABC funds, you have to be a 501c3 nonprofit.
Yeah, Brad, I think you kind of asked a question about how, and I think Dustin, you were kind of alluding to that too. ABC can't be given to a private business, I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, it's yours.
Governmental entities can use ABC funds.
Sure,
Right.
okay, so, but not a for-profit business, I
But
shouldn't say
there's
nonprofit.
other options for those in-home daycares. They are eligible for Health and Human Services grant, which does playgrounds. So that's available for in-homes, but I don't think you guys qualify.
I don't.
And I guess the in-homes, they could come to LBA 40 because they're structured as a business. So we could do something through that type of a program. It's kind of been this way off and on with daycare. There are some grants that you guys qualify for and the in-homes haven't. And I've done a lot of in-home programs that you guys haven't qualified for. So I don't know what the magic mix is, but not every daycare is on the same playing field in any way, shape, or form for any of these. There was a bunch of COVID money that was only for those in-homes. I think we had $12 billion in the state. I mean, it was some ridiculous number. So we made sure we sent that info to every daycare. They had that opportunity. I sent it to you guys and you didn't qualify. So I don't know what the right answer is, but
And we want
they're each
every
available for different things.
provider in Ainsworth to succeed because that is equally as important. Like, we've already offered some trainings on site. We look forward to doing continuing education for our community and in homes. on site, like that's a big priority of us. And if the point of contention is like sticker shock and seeing that and then the public use, like we're not here with a chip on our shoulder, like I see that, but this, when looking at what we're gonna do on Main Street and making like so many really beautiful things, tying it all together, like that's part of it, and that's why we threw like absolutely everything in here. This is like what we shot big the whole time. We're shooting big to make this outdoor space really beautiful as well. And so that I'm interested to hear more of your thoughts, but that's where we've positioned ourselves to, and yeah.
So you made a comment about, you know, the price as opposed to other entities in town, what you're charging them. That's not of my concern.
Correct.
You all need to do whatever it takes to make your budget work.
Correct.
I think what I got from the people that called me, it was public use for a private entity. It's tax dollars. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And we can obviously agree or disagree or have different thoughts on how that's used, but I did not get any comments in favor of it either, at least not at that price tag, so.
And I also, I don't think people realize how expensive it is to do anything nowadays. I mean.
I get that, but that was the pushback I got.
So there's no way you could open this up to the public without somebody being there and blah, blah, blah. Because that's my issue is like, we're dumping all this money into something that the public can just, stare at it across the fence, be like, yeah, there's a pool park, can't go over there, can't have our kids over there.
Because in the future, we want to, the rest of that green space, we want to develop that.
Right, so like, that's what I was saying, like, if this could be public with the seating area that we're gonna do, that would be.
And the restrooms there and stuff like that, it would flow together and it would be workable.
Now it's gonna be a public area and a black eye to everybody that's not using it, because they can just look at it and be like, oh, can't use it.
So we're in a long that ideally too, like we've explored it.
So like, is there any way that you can make it public access?
Is there any way the city can cover the liability insurance on it?
Well,
you guys own 25.
It's half of our property.
Correct.
And we do have, I assume we have liability
We'd have
insurance
to have
on our
liability
public
on
parks
ours.
already. So that's my question is, wouldn't we already be
So
covered? We'd have to look into that.
We have the liability on it today because of the lease that we're in. And so that's part of our liability insurance that we pay. We confirmed with our insurance guy today, just to make sure we're not speaking out of turn. So that's why if someone from the board or our staff is on site, it can be used by the public. And there's a gate right off of Main Street into our area.
But are you gonna have to have it closed during business hours?
We can't have other children there while
Yes, that's what I'm saying,
our
so
well, that's a safety thing. That's 100% a safety.
And a ratio.
And a ratio thing. Like DHHS would shut us down in a heartbeat if that happened.
But I don't know if there's a possibility of, from the hours of our current business hours, 7 to 5:30, that area falls under our liability insurance, and weekdays, 5:30 to 6:59, and on weekends, 24 through the 24 hours, that falls under the city's liability. I don't know that information.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Would you be opposed to that? If the city found out, hey, our insurance would cover that during closed hours?
Sure. The board would have to vote on that. We'd have to take it to the board, but I don't think that would be a problem if it actually worked with the city.
I think that would make it much more palatable to vote.
It's politics, ladies.
Yeah,
That's the way, that's exactly where it lies.
Yeah, I would think as a board.
You talked about, you've raised a lot, done some work. This last chunk of money you got that's going towards scholarships, is that gonna be an ongoing thing then?
Yeah,
And
it is.
correct me if I'm wrong, people can afford to pay privately, and if they can't, through your facility, can they use government funding to play?
So we accept state subsidy,
Okay.
and we have state subsidy families currently enrolled.
So where's this scholarship money from?
So for those people, the in-between people that don't qualify for state subsidy but can't, make $52,000, so they don't qualify for state subsidy, but they may, you know, make $2,000 more than
So
they.
We also
how do you
mentioned we're
pick and
fully.
choose? That's a
So-
whole can of worms.
No, so we have a really strong policy in place for applicants and parameters. So it's based on the chart that the school uses for income. So 1, 2, 5 people, family income is based on how we award scholarships.
Okay, thank you.
And we did mention our employees were going to be fully staffed. A big piece of that is our staff with children also get that benefit of a tuition assistance.
So some of
Like
that scholarship.
Yeah,
money
it
is
pulls
for
from the
that.
same pool as part of, yeah.
Okay. I don't have any further questions, Mr. Mayor.
I think we've got a lot of questions out there that can't be answered tonight. I guess I would make a motion to table this until we get some more information as far as the liability insurance purposes and get some further input from the community.
I would like further input, and right now, this is dead in the water to me if it's not open to the public. Somehow, some way, you know, like spending that kind of money, and nobody can.
Okay, so motion to table,
I'll second that motion.
second. Go ahead and call the roll.
Brad?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Dustin?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna table it. One other thing, and it's not related to the grant so much. So I mean, in the discussion, it came up that this is on city property.
Oh, yeah.
So
Gosh, I had that note to talk
you're gonna
about
have
that
to
too.
come to the council for approval of this plan and need a building permit. So, I mean, to me, I would do that first.
You already talked to Lisa, right, about the building permits and stuff?
Well, I haven't submitted this plan yet, just because we're still kind of in the planning stages, trying to figure out exactly what we're gonna do, but that will be part of that process.
Front to back or down?
Okay, well,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you guys.
Next item is the $30,000 from the ABC committee for the swimming pool fund.
I think Dave kind of talked about that a little bit already. I know, like Lisa said, you've been putting $30,000 into this pool fund for years and years, but we don't have a plan. We have no plan on how to spend.
How much is in there?
600, give or take.
Does that include the private money that was raised?
We've got
NCDC
approximately
has it.
40, is it 44, Kristen? About
Okay,
40,
so-
40-some thousand dollars that the
600
NCDC has
Of ABC?
toward, that was raised a decade ago or more,
Thank you.
that would go to a pool. I think that's what it is, Ken, it's about 44.
Great, and we just invested that into it.
I mean, we're not even close to even having type of a plan. I know we had that, what I call it? That study a couple years ago, and even on the cheaper side of that, it was like $2.3 million was the project. And even what we have in there, the inflation and everything else, we're not even keeping up with that. We need to, I'm not saying I'm not agreeing to the $30,000, but, because ABC kind of admitted, but this might be the last year I'd probably agree to $30,000 out of the ABC fund going, and I think I heard you say the same thing, Dave.
Yeah, I didn't rest, what did the committee think about that, Doc?
Well, as chairman of the committee, I'm on record that if we don't see something concrete by next year, 2025, I'm in favor of not committing any more ABC funds to that fund.
So
In other
we have
words,
to decide, okay,
the
do we
ball
want a
has to get
pool, do we
rolling.
want a splash pad? You know, that would
Well,
cheapen up our dollars a little bit.
We're not specific on pool, splash pad, or whatever. We want to see something happen.
And as a council, I think we do too. You know, we've seen that money sitting there, and, you know, the pool, we're just getting by. We keep putting Band-Aids on it, and we put $80-some thousand in it 2 years ago, or $110,000.
Like $110,000 when we did the filtration system.
Yeah.
And then
and we're still really stuck on the same pool we had 30 years ago. It's heated now, and it wasn't heated when I was back there, but
We just replaced the boiler too.
yeah, so,
So is it splash?
and we're not taking money, and we're not taking money out of this fund to do that, which is great, I'm glad we're not doing that. But a splash pad would be probably, we're probably still looking at close to $1 million probably for a splash pad.
So we're closer to a splash pad
Yeah.
than we are to a pool, because you go, if you ever, when I take my kids to the pool, there is nobody on the deep end of that pool ever hardly doing anything.
Can you reallocate those funds though to a splash pad where they've been designated for a swimming pool?
That's what I was wondering, that's why we keep saying swim pool, but, you know, that's why I'm not in favor of putting any more money towards the swim pool, because we're never gonna get there. Unless we can find somebody that's gonna give us a big grant or something like that.
Well, that is the nice thing about the fund you have and that you've built it over the years is
We have matching.
you do have some can be used for matching. That is the one, you're right, that's the one benefit of having it and kind of budgeting toward it slowly. But
Yeah.
I
it does
agree
give
with
you
that.
something for a match.
And, you know, for young people, both of my children learned how to swim there. But we're getting nowhere. I'm sorry, Doc. I'm a year ahead of you on this. I'm done putting money into it until we, you know, got a fundraising campaign, or that's because we've just talked about two things that I think are more vital for city dollars, even though that may not be specific to ABC, and that's housing and streets. And so, you know, it's tax dollars that are sitting there that aren't doing anything. They're accruing interest. But I don't think that's the best use of tax dollar money.
I mean, if a splash pad's $1 million,
I'm just guessing, I don't know.
I don't think it'll be in that $1 million range. I guess I've helped some other communities with splash pads and I mean, unless you're doing something extremely sizable, I don't think you'll hit $1 million.
350,000.
Yeah, because Springview's gonna put one in, I can't imagine they're gonna spend $1 million on a splash pad in Springview.
I'm just saying, is there something that we can do for around $1 million to suffice everything, and maybe, or more? We have 600 something that we can apply for a matching.
So the original intention with like the NCDC funds, when they started raising those, it was that we would have match to fund like the planning portion of a grant. So that'd be like your phase one, and then maybe you guys could have some to go towards construction, and yes, find some grants. But like you guys, you know, they've been, I think it was in 08, 09, when we first started raising money for a pool, and you know, at some point, the community needs to decide what's the priorities and where do they fall, so that we're investing our resources wisely.
Like you're talking like a splash pad, like kind of water park looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think like the people that, I have some friends that live in Norfolk, and they put a new water park in, they said it's packed and everybody loves it. I think it'd be more fun for everybody to do, opposed to just a pool.
The one main grant fund that usually is used for the pools, CCCFF, they had put a designation on it last year that it can only be used in creative districts, so pretty well yanked that out from being used for any kind of park pool.
Define that. What do you mean by that?
The state legislature did some things identifying creative districts to try to get, I would say, like downtown areas to be more artsy,
Artistic, yeah.
Okay.
and so you could like designate it as a creative district, but then you had to have projects that, I guess, made it more of like an arts area.
Your USDA funds could potentially go, I mean, that could be a community facility, but their grant money is so limited, I mean, essentially, it's probably more like a USDA loan, potentially.
So my understanding is CCCFF is supposed to open back up generally again in 2025. I don't know if you've heard anything different, but. And that, I think at that time, it's like what, 450,000?
Yeah, that's, I'm trying to think, we just did one and we were awarded 352 or 362, so yeah, it's probably in that range. It's a dollar for dollar match.
So, you know, if we have 700,000, we could do a lot with, you know, dollar for dollar, you know, 1.4 million. We could do a really nice,
I think water park splash.
you know, a lot of water park, you know, baby pool type deal and stuff like that. You know, full-size swimming pool with showers and locker rooms and stuff like that. It's probably gonna be way out of our budget unless we can find somebody that,
I think they'd have, I think you'd get more use out of it if it was
would the current pool stay open, and is there enough money to maintain it?
Well, that's
If
what
we
we've
go
been doing
squash-
forever. I mean, that's just been standard operating procedure. Fix the pool, open it up, fix it.
It's a loss every
yeah.
year.
And it's extremely limited because you're dealing with staff that are mostly high schoolers. And it runs from about Memorial Day till about the 8th or 9th of August, and then they've got activities and then it's done.
I think the question was, if you do something like the water park, are you gonna still keep the pool open?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I don't know. That's it.
That would remain to be seen.
Yeah, because
Since you got the expense.
hemorrhaging money either way.
Yeah.
It is, it's definitely a money pit we don't get back. We know it's a loss. When we do our budget, we know the pool is a loss,
I
a
would just
big
say-
loss.
Pretty much everything the city does is a loss. Honestly speaking, I mean, that's why you have local
There's a
government.
quote for you.
Everything in the city does.
Right across
How do you
the
like
front
that,
of the
Cody?
paper next to it. City Administrator
Headline
Lisa.
I thought we'd do better than that.
Seriously speaking, though, I mean, that's why you have local government, right, is because some of these enterprises are not money-making enterprises, but you need to have them to shape your community. That's what makes a community, a swimming pool, a library, your public streets and your accesses, your parks, your cemeteries. These are not money-making entities. Nobody's gonna make money out of these things. That's why we collect the property taxes and we maintain them and hopefully provide nice amenities to our community members. So, I mean, yes, it bleeds money, but so does the library, so does the parks. So, but do you want to live in a community that doesn't have any amenities like that? I mean, it's a trade-off, right? And it's just a matter of identifying your priorities, I think, in terms of what makes the most money to the community, just, you know, to focus those dollars where they make the biggest impact. And that's I think, the challenge with the pool, because it's so expensive, but you've got all these other projects that are also high need, that are also very expensive, so.
I guess a water park would pull a lot of people from all a big area.
But are you gonna charge to use it?
Just like
Because,
a pool.
you know, well, but like Stewart, I can just take my kids there and I don't have to pay anyone. I just
On
go
the
hit the
pad.
button. Yeah, on the splash pad.
Well, I mean, there's probably gonna be the areas that are probably like the, but if we were talking like the big, if you have a water slide or anything that would be extensive, yeah, I would see.
But how are you gonna have a water slide without a pool? Like, don't you have to have a pool for us to go
Liability
into?
insurance and things there too, but that's.
Back to our, what's actually on the table here. As long as we put a plan together, I make a motion to approve $30,000 of ABC allocated to the swimming pool fund this year. We need to put a plan together.
I'll second his motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call roll.
Ken,
Nay.
Dustin,
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Motion carried 2-1, and Doc, I want to thank the committee. I guess you're the only one here. I know you guys spent a few hours discussing these two items the other night, had a lot of good discussion, asked some good questions. Appreciate that, and we'll continue to investigate. Next item is to discuss and consider a proposal from G-Works to upgrade the city utility software, billing, payroll, finance software.
So I know there was a debate about whether or not this needed to come to city council by some of you council members, but I just, because it is expensive and it is an asset and an investment into the management at the city, and so I thought it pertinent maybe that we discuss it and you have some feedback on it. And I explained to some of you earlier today that basically, you know, the software we're using now is the same software we used from the mid-90s. It's an Access database, and it pretty much runs everything, you know, payroll, general ledger, bank reconciliation, accounts payable, receipts management. We did some upgrades a couple of years ago because basically we were told the software company got bought out by G-Works. we were basically told they were trying to move everything to the cloud. We were phasing the old Access database out. Of course, the pricing structure was really expensive. We had gone from paying, like a licensing fee per computer, which was, affordable, I would say, even though it was an old software, to really expensive annual licensing fees that were based off of users and access points. And it was a very cumbersome structure, and that pricing was different for payroll than it was for like public user utilities. So you would have to buy chunks on the utilities and chunks on the payroll. And we wanted to do like e-billing and texting and emailing of things. We were getting asked by community members for ease of paying their utility bills. So we did kind of move into, what was that, Cody, 2-3 years ago. We bought the front desk version, which was basically the first cloud version of the online utility management, where customers can create their accounts online. They can go in, look at their bill. It will email them their bill. They can pay it online. And it's a nice function, I would say, for the customers that use it. What we thought was probably going to make some things easier on our end actually made it harder for us, because we're running 2 systems now. So on the utility billing side, you're still entering everything in the old Access, but it's not syncing in all cases. So you have to enter it twice. So there's a lot of room for mistakes here. They are phasing it out. They've been pushing us, and I've been digging my heels in because it's expensive. But we did do a demo on Friday, and basically the pricing they're giving us now, it has changed. So that's why I guess I'm considering it now. But they've gotten rid of the chunking. So basically it's just unlimited users on payroll and utility accounts, so you're not gonna get billed. The more people that sign up and that sort of thing, it's just a flat rate. You get everything, all the updates are free, everything's on the cloud, everything syncs back to itself. It's supposed to integrate with Neptune, that's what they say, which is our meter reading software. Anyway, when it's all said and done, right now we're paying about $10,800 or $11,000 a year with the current system that we have. All of this upgrade would put us at $13,900 per year, which to me, it just boggles my mind, $14,000 a year for software. I just hate how expensive it is. But the other idea that I had was, right now all this money is coming out of the general fund for these technical subscriptions. It is utility management software, so I don't know why we can't break that out amongst the enterprise funds so that it's not eaten out of the general fund. So that's an option too, I guess. I was just looking for some feedback, because
It's still an expense, we're still pulling out tax dollars, but it's just gonna be divided up amongst the individual departments to let them pay their share since they're using it as well.
So I don't know that it really, at the end of the day, is gonna impact anyone other than Cody and I, honestly.
Yeah, but this will make it faster, easier for you guys, correct?
Well, that would be
If you're
the
not
hope.
flip-flopping between,
That would be the hope. There
Once you
are,
get past the learning curve.
there are a couple of major processes that we do, like service orders. Ridiculous. I mean, service orders are ridiculous, and we do a lot of service orders, especially this time of year. It probably takes us, 30 minutes to do a service order? Because you have to hop in, hop out, connect, disconnect, transfer, all these places, and there's just so many areas where you can make a mistake. Of course, then you don't catch the mistake until the bill comes out and the person calls, and then you're trying to do corrective billing. It's kind of a nightmare, and I think this, actually, from the demo we launched, I think that would simplify that process. And I think we would see immediately if there was something wrong with it. Same with payroll. Payroll right now takes about 26 steps to do payroll. This would simplify it into 5.
So you're paying 11 now, and this would be up to 13.9 a year.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've already paid.
11, yeah, right.
So I guess the proposal that I was given, which, if we onboarded in June, if we agreed to do this and whatever, and we onboarded all of it in June, we've already paid for the year of 2024, so they would prorate back. So basically, for the rest of 2024, we would pay $256 a month, and then starting in 2025, you pay the $13.90. So that's that.
So, I mean,
Do you even need a
do you, well, I guess since it's on the agenda, we could have a motion, but my question is, we're gonna do it, right? I mean, what's the other option to not do it? I mean.
So here's why I guess, and Cody can attest, I've, for a year, I've been dragging my feet on this, and they've been pushing and pushing, and I've been ignoring them, and anyway, because I kinda, I'll be honest, I had a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth on the last onboarding that we did with them. It was not a smooth process.
Is there any other software out
There are other softwares, and we've talked about that, we've debated that. I've talked to other communities. There's pros and cons, you know, with anything. I mean, I don't think the grass is always greener on the other side either, so I think it's just kind of, plus the data migration to a whole new, I'm just not sure.
Or a different company.
I'm not sure I wanna,
Yeah, if
I
they
mean,
are
honestly, I don't know.
$5,000 or $6,000 less, you're, I mean, yeah, they're probably the same price anyways.
I bet they're all pretty competitive.
Yeah, I'd say they're all.
So the worst thing that will happen in this transition, it sounds like, and I just talked to her today. God, this week's been crazy. I don't even remember when I talked to her. The worst thing that I have found through my questioning is the credit card processor that we use on front desk. They are not going to work with this core package. We have to go to a different processor. And at the end of the day, that really doesn't mean a lot other than to the people who have a front desk account already created and they have a payment method saved in there, they'll have to re-enter their payment method.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's just.
So I think as far as the customer impact, that's probably it.
You
The
don't
rest
have
of
to-
it's just on
there? You have a lot of
us.
people that pay with credit card,
Mhm.
No, I'm sure.
We do,
so do you charge extra?
we do,
Okay.
and we pass that
Doesn't
to the
stop them,
customer.
Rod.
Well, no,
He's just saying, like, the city's not eating the 2%.
you're lucky if it only costs you
Right,
2%.
right. It's such a, I wish I had that business, because you don't have to do anything, you just collect money for people paying their bills, kind of like the government.
Lisa, you have to convince yourself, you don't have to convince.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably why I'm
You
struggling.
just keep
with it.
talking.
And I think we budgeted that money for data, so I don't think we need to even vote on it, it's just informative.
Mostly I just, because it is a large asset to the
But-
city, I just wanted you
Yeah.
to know, and I wanted some feedback from you, and
Surprising it's coming out of general fund.
it has always, and,
Yeah.
you know.
Would
it's-
make sense to split it to the utilities.
Yeah.
Have a data line on each
Yeah, well,
utility.
yeah, because
Just
you
a
got
percentage,
garbage,
if
water.
water's 60%,
Yeah.
sewer's 25 and garbage is 15, split it up
think,
proportionately.
Yeah.
9 years ago when I started here, we were paying like 6,000.
I was thinking 4,500.
So, you know, it has skyrocketed over the, I think that's why it's a hard pill for me to
And
swallow.
they'll-
It just keeps.
But they just get you every year,
Going.
and keep using it, that's the way it is.
Because they know it's
You have
less
to.
of a headache to just pay that extra than to redo it with a different company.
Yeah. So anyway. I guess-
QuickBooks model.
Thanks for the feedback.
It is, that's exactly.
Okay, I think everybody's
QuickBooks
good with
model.
that. Now we'll move
Just
on to
get
the
your-
last
just
item
get your
on
thing
the
about
agenda.
taking
It's
another
the
increase on that.
Administrative Clerk Treasurer report.
So, you know, lots of progress on the Main Street. As far as I know, no big snafus or hiccups or anything. The
Thanks for jinxing it.
Myers is probably right. I mean, Myers is now, you know, on the 4th to 5th block, and I think hoping to connect sewer soon with the DOT project so that that can start.
I have a question on Myers Construction. They tore up the whole street, but they left the curb and
I was gonna
gutter.
say the same
Are they
thing.
not replacing the curb and gutter?
So the original bid spec was to leave the curb and gutter to save cost, because it wasn't in that bad of shape.
It is now.
Well, so I heard from Olson. So Olson, our IT guy, or our project, our project manager, he had of course gone and photo cataloged all of it, you know, as you would. And, I think the contractor, yes, is pushing. They would really like for the city to just allow him to rip that out and replace it. And yeah, well, that's fine if it makes it easier for you. I guess my thought on that is if they want to pay for it.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not a very sympathetic view to that.
Yeah, but I would just, mine was a legitimate question.
You know, when I watched that first block, especially on the east side, or the west side of the first block, I would say, how are they even gonna put the new street up to that curb and gutter, because there's nothing there to work with.
Yeah. Are they, and the other question is, are they, and I could go back through the minutes and that, but are they doing asphalt, are you doing asphalt or concrete?
That was concrete,
Concrete,
because it
that's
was about
right.
the same price.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I couldn't
It
remember.
was cheaper, actually.
Yeah, is the north portion gonna keep up to where it's not gonna slow up the south portion?
That's the
on-
hustle on the
For the
sewer.
sewer and water.
Yes,
Or just the sewer.
Well, right now they're just doing the sewer.
Right.
because they're not gonna come back and, A&R's not gonna come back and say, sorry, first 2 blocks of Main Street are closed for another month because we've gotta wait for the north portion to get finished before they can move into the south portion.
DOT is pushing.
Okay.
Fort Myers is, yes, they're collaborating.
Okay.
Is that,
Leave it
is
at
that the nice words?
Yeah. So yes, they are,
Okay.
it does, and then Myers will come back and do the water, but that's why they do it that way, was to get the sewer to connect with DOT, so.
But I was curious, I just assumed wrongly that the curb and gutter would have been in the bid, but I can see where it would have been cheaper not to do it if it was kind of in good shape.
And so, really, other than the whole OOR debacle, I did meet with Sheriff Dibler a couple of times. He's working on some nuisance property notices, and he and I are trying to collaborate on when he sends his notices and when I send my vacant building notices. So I think we're at the antithesis of that and can get those sent out, hopefully. And the audit draft is done, and I talked to Michael the other day, and I think he's anticipating that he will present at the May meeting, so.
Wait, it's not October.
What?
Yeah, it's not October 25.
Order.
Well, apparently that was a good decision that you guys made.
So anyway, that's really been the key things going on the last month, so.
All right, thanks. Anybody else have any questions?
Just so back to the detour and stuff, I let the mayor and Lisa know. As the fire department, we talked the other day to kind of pre-plan. If there happens to be an accident on the detour that we have now, we will reroute traffic during that cleanup period to South Street, to Oak Street, and then the highway. Yeah, which was the original detour to begin with.
Between KBRB and Cottonwood.
Yeah, and go that way, come down.
Up to Oak.
Oh, just so we're not saying, okay, this happens, okay, where are we gonna take all this traffic? So our department knows right away, and we'll kind of coordinate that if it happens with the city to maybe help us, with maybe barricades or, and traffic and stuff like that.
Will trucks be able to make that?
Yeah, because it was the original detour.
Yeah.
Well, but they were gonna, I thought, widen that curve.
We'll have to slow traffic down and maybe have one truck turn at a time. But we're saying maybe, it might be like a 3-4 hour deal.
Right.
That's all, hopefully that's all it is.
Never.
Yeah,
Right.
or never, we hope, but,
That was
more
good,
like,
that's good planning though.
then also, just on the fire we had over here at Andy Taylor's, there was several people that asked if they could drive over the hose because it was shorter to get to where they wanted to go.
And did you restrain yourself, Councilman?
I was gone, so I missed that fire, but, that's another thing I might talk to the city later on if we have a major fire and stuff, maybe I might need their help with barricades and stuff, but.
Sure, if they want to buy a new hose.
Yeah. We don't want a hose broke that much.
Nothing surprises me anymore.
No, I know.
That takes the cake.
All right, I think we've covered everything on tonight's agenda, and we're gonna adjourn at 7:19.
Well, you've given me about 4 days worth of news, newscast that's gonna take me to get through all this.
Yeah, they get typing, man.
This is one of the busier ones we've had in a while.
Yeah, I've already